All right, so we're about to jump into something, well, something pretty out there. We've gotten our hands on a really unique and sprawling collection of documents, and they all describe a single project. It's called the Muse Omnipotence engine. And trust me, it's part software, part physics, and part something else entirely. We're going to peel this thing back layer by layer, using the materials themselves to guide us. And right out of the gate, you can feel the vibe. This quote shows up in the project's own analysis files, and it kind of sets the stage, you know? It hints at ambitions that go way, way beyond just building a normal piece of tech. It's all about unlocking potential, and as you're about to see, this project takes that idea to the absolute extreme.
So, how do we even begin to wrap our heads around this thing? Well, let's start where the project itself starts, with its grand, and I mean grand, vision for what it's trying to do.
So this is it, the official vision statement. And it is a wild one. The project basically claims it will unlock impossible insights. And how's it going to do that? By merging the eternal mathematical wisdom encoded in ancient Egyptian glyphs with cutting-edge computational techniques. I mean, right away, you see this absolutely bonkers fusion of the ancient and the ultra-modern.
Okay, but before we get completely lost in the clouds, let's bring this thing back down to earth for a second, because a huge chunk of these documents is surprisingly super conventional. We're talking business plans, software maintenance schedules, stuff you'd find at any tech startup. Let's take a look at how they plan to make this reality.
And boom, here's the proof. These aren't just doodles on a napkin. These are detailed financial models. They've got plans for making money right away through consulting and then scaling all the way up to multi-million-dollar industry solutions. This shows it's not just some abstract art project. It was designed to be a real business.
And that corporate feel goes all the way down to these weekly maintenance checklists. But wait a second, look closer. You've got totally normal stuff like review financial performance metrics, right next to things like recalibrate pheromonia harmonic ratios and Sphinx lock persistence test. This is our first real clue that something very, very strange is hiding just beneath the surface.
Okay, so we've seen the normal corporate shell. Now it's time to crack it open and look at what's really going on inside. The engine's bizarre and, frankly, esoteric operating system. This is where things get really fascinating.
Say a look at the code, and at first you'd think, okay, I've seen this a million times. Here we have a totally standard Python class definition. It's for something called segment. Looks like any other piece of programming you'd find anywhere. But it's not.
And here's the twist. Sekhmet isn't just some random name the developer thought was cool. No, it's the actual Egyptian goddess of healing and destruction. And in this system, every single core software module is named after a deity, and its job in the code is directly inspired by that deity's mythology. So Sekhmet handles selective refinement through destruction. It literally deletes and purifies data.
And it goes even deeper. The system doesn't really have functions in the normal programming sets. It has glyphs. Each one is a mathematical process that's tied to an Egyptian symbol. So you've got the Ankh for regenerative growth, Ra for energy diffusion, and Thoth as a recursive knowledge processor. The code is literally built on a foundation of mythology.
And if the glyphs are the tools, then layered on top of them are the 7 sages. Think of these as the high-level strategic brains of the whole operation. And according to the documents, when they work together, they enable some absolutely astonishing capabilities, including being able to perceive multiple timelines and even engage in what the creator calls reality engineering. This brings us deeper still into the theoretical blueprint that supposedly makes this whole engine possible. We're leaving computer science behind and entering the world of a custom-built model of physics.
The project calls its unique framework phi-field theory. That phi is the Greek letter phi, which represents the golden ratio. The documents lay out this whole theory for how to model and, get this, even manipulate the very fabric of space-time using things like geometric patterns and harmonic resonance.
And here is one of its core equations. Now don't worry, we are not going to do a math lecture here. The important thing is what the documentation claims this equation does. Its purpose is to create a kind of geometric support that can actually stabilize space-time. It's an incredibly ambitious idea, all laid out in these source files.
And the physics just keeps going. The documents even include formulas like this, the stress-energy tensor. Now that's a core concept straight out of Einstein's theory of general relativity. Here it's being used to analyze energy conditions, which suggests the project is seriously trying to build a bridge from its own wild ideas to mainstream physics.
So you have to ask yourself why. Why go to all this trouble to fuse production-grade software, esoteric philosophy, and a custom theory of reality? The answer is probably the most radical, most unbelievable claim in the entire project.
It's a concept the documents call complexity inversion. And folks, this idea, it basically breaks everything we know about computer science. It claims that for certain types of problems, the bigger and more complex they get, the faster the engine can solve them. Not slower, faster.
And this slide just shows you how absolutely insane that claim is. On the left, that's normal computation. The time it takes explodes exponentially as the problem gets bigger. On the right is the project's inverted time, which allegedly shrinks exponentially. If this were real, it would make solving currently impossible problems totally trivial. We're talking about things like simulating the entire universe or perfectly predicting the stock market. This claims to make those things fast.
And all of that unbelievable computational power is apparently meant to fuel these ultimate goals. The documents list these as the system's stated capabilities, and this is where it goes from science fiction to something else. We're talking reality engineering, achieving omniscient intelligence, and even executing a divine manifestation protocol.
So let's try to pull all of these completely wild threads together now and look at the final synthesized picture of what the Axis Muse Omnipotence engine claims to be.
What it all boils down to is this: a meticulously documented, deeply strange synthesis of completely different worlds. You have build scripts and financial trading algorithms sitting right next to Egyptian glyphs and new equations for spacetime. It's a singular, coherent, and unbelievably weird vision.
And maybe the strangest part? This entire vast creation is consistently attributed to one single entity, this signature, the architect. It's on practically every document, every piece of code, every diagram, tying this whole thing to one mysterious author.
Which leaves us with the final, massive question. After digging through all of this, all the code, all the equations, all the business plans, it's still not clear what this is. Is it a genuine blueprint for a technology that could actually change the world? Is it one of the most elaborate, complex pieces of performance art ever created? Or is it something else entirely, a new kind of myth for the digital age? The documents give us the map, but the nature of the territory, that remains a profound mystery.